Hello, hello, and happy Tuesday. I am so excited to be here with you today on Tuesday. It is one of my favorite days of the week. I love coming in here and sharing my tips and expertise for living a plant-based or plant-centered lifestyle. I am so excited to have you here today. I want you to get excited in the chat. Let's tell me where you're calling in from. I am calling in from Tucson, Arizona. I know I was here last week as well. We will actually be parked here until the middle of April. So enjoying our bike rides through the saguaro cacti and all of the desert just spaces. It's just incredible. But I'm really excited to be here every Tuesday at noon Eastern. I come in here, I go live, and I'm talking all things plant-based. So whether you're an herbivore, an omnivore, or even a carnivore that's just looking to add more plants to your meals, there will always be a takeaway to help you get more plants on your plate. So drop a hey in the chat. Let me know that you are tuning in. If you are in our Veg Inspired Foodies Facebook group, there are access to replays for these in the guides section, guides to all of our Tuesday lives are available for replay there. If you are tuning in from YouTube, it's a bonus video for you today. Went ahead and went live in and streamed into YouTube, so say hey there. Just a quick background, I'm a real person traveling full-time in a fifth wheel RV with my husband and our 3 cats. This is Eddie, he just wants to say hi. So again, don't be surprised if they jump up here, wiggle the camera, or if there's noises in the background, that happens. I'm going to talk today for about 15 to 20 minutes. So if you have questions, I invite you to put those in the chat and get your pen and paper ready, and let's get into this. I am Kathy Davis, your hostess today. I am a plant-based lifestyle and accountability coach, the author of the 30-minute whole food plant-based cookbook, a full-time RV traveler, and the CEO of Veg Inspired. I help busy professionals transition to a plant-based lifestyle to help them elevate their energy and also find a harmonious relationship with plant-based cooking and plant-based food. Each week in our show, I cover topics that you ask for or topics that I have found helpful along my transition to plant-based eating. I have been an ethical vegan for 7 years, and about 1.5 years ago, I pivoted that vegan diet to a more whole food, plant-based, mostly unprocessed way of eating to really elevate my energy and also shed some extra weight so that I could happily enjoy hiking and biking in all of these beautiful parks and places that we visit on our journey. So I always want to make sure that no matter where you are in this journey, that there is a takeaway for you. So today's focus is going to be jumpstart to eating more plants. And the reason that I wanted to do this is I'm finding people are very excited to add more plants to their meals. You know, you might be, like I said, you might be a vegan who just wants to eat more kale, or you might be sitting there and you're eating the standard American diet and you just want to know how to easily make a lower carbon footprint or add more plants to your meals. So I wanted to share some tips that I have in ways that you can do that. I got Lisa, we have Amy, we have a friend from the UK. Awesome. You all, if you are watching this on YouTube, there is a StreamYard link. It's streamyard.com/Facebook. It does allow me to know who I'm talking to. I love to connect with you in the chat. So if you haven't hit that link, it's telling me that you're a Facebook user. So if I don't use your name, it's not that I don't care or want to connect with you. It's that Facebook isn't telling me who that is. So I'm really happy to have you here. And let's get into this training on Jumpstart to eating more plants. So one of the first things I always start with, and this is not actually a tip, it's more of kind words to you in the beginning, okay? I always suggest you start with your why. Why do you want to eat more plants? Is it to uplift your energy? Is it to help your mood? You know, food affects our mood. I know if you've been eating plant-based for a long time and you eat something that's a little oilier, or you have something really sugary, sometimes that affects our mood. and we might not know why. So I always tell people, what is it that you want? Do you want this for health reasons? Do you want to eat more plants for environmental? Keep that reason in the back of your mind while you're navigating this adventure to eat more plants, because your why ultimately ends up being your driving force for making the conscious choices each and every day with the foods that you buy and you eat. But as with any major or even minor lifestyle change, I always recommend those baby steps, right? It is so much easier to climb a ladder or climb stairs one rung or one step at a time. It requires less effort and is often way more effective than trying to take large leaps or skip those ladder rungs and have to pull yourself up and use and exert more effort. So take that into consideration as I'm going through these 5 things that you can implement right away to jumpstart your plant-based eating. While I'm talking, I'd love to invite you to pop any questions you have in the chat, and if I can get to them, I will answer them live on this video, or I will come back and answer them via the chat, in the comments, or even a personal message to you. So tip number 1, increase what you are eating that is already plant-based. If you love beans, put a little more beans on your plate. If you love rice or potatoes or oats or another whole grain, quinoa, fill your plate a little bit more. Crowd out those animal-based foods that you want to reduce or eliminate, and really make your plant-based ingredients the star of the show. If you are cooking for people who don't want to switch to a plant-based diet, have your plant-based meal be that star, and then let them add in those ingredients that are animal-based, or if you are vegan and want to go more whole food plant-based, maybe they add in their vegan alternatives. So again, I'm talking to everybody, no matter where you are in your journey. It's just a little bit more of that pivot from what you're currently eating to adding more plants. So really up level those plants that you're already eating. If you're already eating lots of greens, maybe make that space on your plate a little bit bigger. Tip number 2, replace or swap out a few of the non-plant-based or non-whole food plant-based ingredients that you want to pivot from, right? So if you love half and half in your coffee, maybe swap that out. I like to use unsweetened soy milk, 2 ingredients. It just uses organic soybeans and water. Or maybe an oat-based or an hemp seed creamer. I really like the Elmhurst brand creamers that they just came out with. Those are great. You can order them online, and they're in shelf-stable Tetra Paks, so you can store them in your pantry until you open them. So a lot of times people like that because they don't have to order them cold. Or maybe you pivot and use veggie broth in place of chicken broth. And if you really want to give it that chickeny flavor, about a tablespoon of nutritional yeast with your veggie broth really levels up that soup and gives it that warm, cozy, buttery kind of flavor that you might miss in your chickeny broth. So keep those questions coming in the chat. And again, we are here live. I'm Kathy Davis talking to you about jumpstarting your plant-based eating. So tip number 3 is really to reframe your plate. I love Dr. Greger's Daily Dozen. It was so helpful for me in the beginning when I was really trying to figure out how much of certain things I should eat. And I really, really liked that I could track it. Like, I didn't really treat it as necessarily a checklist or, counting points or anything like that. I really wanted to see how I could vary the foods on my plate and still match this Daily Dozen that he had. Doing it really helped me see how I could reset my plate and really amp up that variety, all while eating more plants and crowding out those non-plant-based meals. And I want to stress in this section specifically is to keep things really simple, right? His Daily Dozen is very simple: whole grains, beans, veggies, fruit. Keep greens, really keep your meals simple. And so I wanted to take a few minutes to talk about some of my favorite meals, specifically the way I put them together. So while you're focusing on adding more of these plant foods to your meals, it is really good for your mindset to focus on adding things versus taking them away or eliminating them, or even that deprivation feeling that often comes when we're trying to be restrictive. So what I want you to do is I want you to think about, how can I really add more of these colorful, vibrant veggies, or what new grain or what new bean or what new seasonings can I try this week? So I wanted to share a couple of ideas that I have that are pretty regular in our house. And some of you who've been listening to me for a while, you probably think I sound like a broken record when I suggest these, but I am a proponent of easy bowl style meals. I highly recommend, having a starch, having your veggies, having your beans, and then changing up your toppings to match the theme of the meal. So if you're going for like a burrito style or Tex-Mex, your starch might be rice, your beans might be black beans or pinto beans, or even like a seasoned kidney bean or ranchero beans. If you can find the Whole Foods ranchero beans are pretty good, or maybe even refried beans. And then you might saute up some fajita veggies, or you might eat them raw. Or you make a quick pico de gallo, or eat salsa or avocado. I do love pico de gallo because it is fresh. And so for me, I just love those fresh tomatoes kind of popping in with all the other flavors. So it's a really quick and easy kind of pivot from, we've all likely been to Chipotle or had some kind of burrito bowl like that. You can easily pivot from those heavy meat bowls into something a little bit easier. Another example that I love to give is mashed potatoes and gravy bowls, right? Like maybe you mash up some potatoes, that's your starch, and then your gravy is your themed topping. And then maybe you do meatloaf patties, or you do breaded tofu, or even just plain baked tofu. And then maybe you add in some roasted broccoli, or some fresh carrots, or just a fresh salad. So really kind of keeping it simple with that grain, those veggies, those beans, or those, bean protein kind of option, and then theming up what you're looking for. So you can do everything from Asian inspired with teriyakis and stir fries, or Indian inspired with curry toppings, or curries and chili sauces and things like that. So it's really fun. If you do have any questions on specific recipes, drop them in the chat. I'd be happy to share some of the things that we do. And then tip number 4 is meal plan. So really pick some of those plant-based ingredients that you and your family love. If you love chickpeas, try chickpea patties or chickpea cakes. If everybody loves tacos and you do Taco Tuesday, rotate in some plant-based fillings, right? Different recipes until you find ones that are your go-to favorites. Plan in those plant-based snacks too. Hummus and veggies, oat cookies or crackers, maybe you make deviled potatoes, or you cook up some potato wedges with ketchup or guacamole for your family as a snack, or even buffalo cauliflower as a snack. So really kind of plan those in and give yourself that time to get those meals and those snacks planned into your daily schedule so that you know exactly what you're grabbing when you go into the kitchen. And then tip number 5, celebrate your success. Okay, this is one that can often be challenging because we usually lean into what went wrong, but I really say what went right. It doesn't do you any good beating yourself up over a flop, or if you fall off the proverbial plant-based wagon, right? Focus on celebrating your successes and the wins that you have. Each step, each ladder rung is a step in the right direction. And I feel like when you are tracking how those meals are going, if it's an amazing meal, stick it in your back pocket for next time, right? Keep it close, remember it. Put a sticky note on that tag, or save it to your Pinterest board of things I must remake. And if it's a complete fail and a complete flop, acknowledge it with your family and move on and try something different. Like, I always suggest also to kind of track how eating this way makes you feel so that you can celebrate those successes as well. There are often physical benefits like digestion and just an overall cleaner feeling, or that overall energy feeling, or even sleep, better sleep. Those feelings can sometimes, and those reactions and benefits can sometimes go unnoticed if you aren't really tracking those. So I like to suggest that you track those and celebrate those little benefits, because they are often the reason why people who do stick with more plants actually stick to it, right? If your skin's clearer, your hair feels better, you're sleeping better, you might be like, gosh, I feel so good. I don't want to go back to eating the way that I ate on a regular basis, right? It's not necessarily about 100% elimination. It's more about that progress towards this healthier and more energizing way of eating. So eating plant-based is a lifestyle change, and with any change of that magnitude, the progress and those baby steps do create those lasting habits. So if you are loving this and you're loving these tips, this is just the tip of the iceberg in what you will get in our free 5-day Eat More Plants workshop that is beginning on April 5th. I'd love to answer any questions that you may have. We are definitely, I'm here for you. I want to hear the topics that you need help with. I know a lot of people come into this way of eating, and there's this, super excitement in those first couple of months. And then there's overwhelm and stress that happens in the kitchen. We're trying all these different recipes. We've joined all these groups. We're watching all these, Instagrammers that are making these gorgeous plates, and it's like, I can't accomplish this in real life. And so I really want you to think back about these habits, about these daily takeaways, about these quick and easy pivots that you can do to really add more plants, and celebrate your successes and celebrate your wins, right? Every meal isn't going to be Instagram worthy. And if it is, and you are starting to feel that burnout, it could be that you're spending too much time in the kitchen trying to make every meal Instagram worthy. So just really lean into how eating this way is making you feel. And if there is overwhelm, pivot back to some of these easier recipes where it is, simply batch cooking some rice, sauteing up some veggies, mixing in some spices, mixing in some sauces, and making a super simple meal for yourself that does not require too much time in the kitchen. So I hope that you really liked these 5 easy tips. Again, I'll run through them really quick. And again, this is available for a replay, but tip number 1 was increase the things that you're already eating that are plant-based. Tip number 2 is replace or swap a few of those things that maybe aren't plant-based or are, more oily if you're trying to eat more whole food plant-based. Number 3 was really reframing your plate and looking at increasing those, those grains and beans and veggies on your plate. Like I said, I love to look at Dr. Greger's Daily Dozen. I think it's a really great guide for ways to kind of eat, that balanced and just making sure that your meals don't end up always being the same. Number 4 was meal plan, picking those favorites and repeating them. Number 5 was celebrate your success. And really those successes are everything from that successful recipe or feeling good, feeling lighter, or even just sleeping better. It is all about progress. So I do, of course, I'm always here for you. I am hosting that free 5-day workshop. I'd love to get you registered for that. veginspired.com/eatmoreplants. It's coming up in 2 weeks, and it's going to be so fun. Let's see. Drop any questions you have in the chat, and I will answer those. From our Facebook user, Lisa Hemp Hearts. I'm going to pop this up so you guys can see what it looks like. So if you don't tell me who you are, this is what it shows me. So hemp hearts can be stored in the fridge or freezer, especially if you aren't using them consistently. Some brands suggest you store them in the refrigerator once they're opened. I love them on salads. I use them in my burger patties. Let's see, where else have I used them? Hemp hearts. I used to eat them on salads, on bowls. I've tossed them into my smoothies because hemp hearts do have a lot of protein, so they are something that provides some protein, so you can throw them into your smoothies. But mostly on salads or rice bowls. You can use them. They have a little bit of a nutty flavor, so you could use them if you didn't have sesame seeds. That would work. And then in the Whole Food Plant-Based 30-minute cookbook, 30-minute Whole Food Plant-Based cookbook, there's a hemp heart parmesan, and it's hemp hearts and nooch. And then you don't have to get the blender or the food processor out to make a nut-based one. You can just use hemp hearts, and it's really that nuttiness that adds some flavor to that. So that's a great question. Other questions? Awesome. So this was a short one today. I'd love to hear other topics that you want to hear about as far as plant-based eating. Other topics that I have talked about is whole food plant-based. We did that last week. I've done some meal planning with variety. I've talked about, yes, Amy, on oatmeal. That's a good one. I'll share this. Hemp hearts tossed on oatmeal. That's a great idea. I've talked about sustainability. We had Vanessa come in and do sustainable food storage. We have some mindful eating and meditation coming up. So we really want to make sure that this group really provides you with all the information you need. So if you are interested in the free Facebook group, Veg Inspired Foodies, if you're watching over on YouTube, you can join us. If you are watching on Facebook, these are not always streamed to YouTube, so they are exclusive to the group most weeks. And if you are missing this, or if you missed any of the other sessions that I've done, I've been doing this for about 2 months now, you can check out the other live show replays in the guides section. But that's all I have for today. I hope that this was helpful in helping you jumpstart that plant-based eating and really giving you some great ideas on how to pivot away from the foods that are either oily or animal-based to get you back on that plant-based, adding more plants to your meals lifestyle. So thanks so much for tuning in. I appreciate it. You are more than welcome. I'm happy to do this every week. I love tuning in with you all, and I will see you next week at noon Eastern for another topic. Bye.